if you miss a cycle, then you have to wait another 21 frames, which is about 0.3 seconds in that. In this game, you can only activate these orbs on their pedestals every beat, which is about 0.43 seconds. So in that level, besides the missed skip that I had, we missed one beat rule, so we lost another 0.43 seconds. And if you're pretty musically savvy, you can tell what beat rule you get by counting upwards in your head, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can tell, like, oh, I got beat 3 for that activation or beat 4 for that activation, and every level has an optimal beat. You can also tell using the auto splitter tool that we have for the game. The first level is fairly straightforward. It's another good orb grab. And another early activation, show orbit. So now you have these launchers that just launch you up in the air. And I should mention that death in this game is kind of unpleasant. Just a forewarning in case I do end up dying. The little pillars you see that fly upwards when I move past them are the checkpoints of the game, in case I do die. But yeah, as you can tell, a lot of the game is just moving through the level, waiting through cycles, and then getting some fairly precise movement at the end of each level to save the beat rule in the level. However, 1-5, the level we're currently in, is the sole exception to the beat rule, kind of like 8-4 in Super Mario Bros. 1. At the end of this level, this pedestal right here does not follow the beat rule, so you can activate it on any frame. So if you're musically savvy, you could hear that that was an activation on and off beat. It was on the end of the beat, which is generally a good indicator that we handled that 1-5 activation fairly well. So this is the first boss. It's the only real instance of RNG in the room, because these little boss cubelets move back and forth kind of randomly. And this final one is actually a pretty big problem, because it too moves a random distance. So you want to kill that last cublet as far right as possible, so that in this hub you get the early activation here. And it's totally random, but you can maximize your chances of getting it by getting the kill as far to the right as possible. Good, I got the setup for that one. Good. So you activate that orb on 4. And now you have these snakes that phase in blocks on 16 nodes. And if you are in the path of them, when the blocks are phasing in, you'll die. Like right here. You can jump in that, and you can actually die there and not lose any time, because you have to wait for the blocks to phase out before you can move forward. Also, you saw in 2-1, and now here again, we have these swappers that disappear and cause another block to appear when you touch them. Oh, shoot. So I was going for the early activation in 2-2, and I moved too early and died. Which is kind of unfortunate. That's fine. Now, 2-3, I'll try and show off the skip here. Okay. So, Leap of Faith, or level 2 skip, is the first really hard skip in the game. You get under this bar, and I timed my jump too early. Shoot, that one was too late. Okay. Show it up. Okay, we'll do it the slow way. Basically, you make the really precisely timed jump under the static bar while it's phased out. And that is a major run ender. The first actual major one. That's not just silly mistakes before that, but it's a very precisely timed jump, but you can make it under that bar to the next platform without dying. And actually, I should mention that 140, just like Thaw, got an update fairly recently. What happened in 140 was a 4th level was added, and level 4 is not considered part of any percent. Any percent is the first 3 levels. What else the update did was change the physics of the game a little bit, so that gravity is slightly stronger. And it eliminated these things called corner jumps, where you jump at a corner really precisely, and then hit the jump input again. You gain a lot of height from that jump, and that was removed. It never really saved time anywhere in the run, but it was just a cool thing to do, and a difficult thing to do to look cool. And the other thing it changed was it made some of the activations easier, and it made some others harder. Oh, and the relevant part to level 2 skip was that it decreased the input lag. So you have to have different timings for certain setups now, or different lineups. That would have been close to the early activation, except I bonked on the wall on the way back up. That's okay. So now we have Boss 2, which is considerably easier than Boss 1. Boss 2 is, as you'll see in a second, always the same pattern. So you just have to memorize where to go, compared to Boss 1, which is, as I mentioned, random. And hopefully I don't have to show it off, but each time the background color changes in the boss levels, you get a checkpoint in Boss 2 and 3 at least. It's certainly not frame perfect, level 2 skip. It is just a very tight timing window. I couldn't say if there's a certain number of frames to get it. And as as long as you start moving to the left or right on the same beat here every time, you're perfectly safe. That's all taken care of. We can move on to the final level. And 3-1, this level right here, it's probably the most difficult for me personally. First you have these swappers again. So I got kind of a bad timing on that, but it was better late than early. Okay. And then here's the hardest skip in the game, which is Widow or Game Guide Bridge. I'm gonna do it and then talk about it. One more try. Okay. I'll go for Widow one more time as well. Ah, shoot, I moved that block. Okay, we'll do it the normal way. So, in Game Guy Bridge or Widow, you jump into the top swapper as soon as it phases in, and you kind of flip to the right a little bit, and it gives you just enough movement to the right to make it to the next block. And it skips you having to go back and forth like you saw I had to do. So it saves a good amount of time. Doing Widow, which is just the second one, still saves a significant amount of time over doing it normal. But it only saves a few activation cycles to do full bridge. Oof. Oh no. Okay. So a death in this section costs a significant amount of time, as you'll see because of the end, which we like to call Wheel of Fortune. This wheel at the end is on a global cycle, so if you can make it through the whole level perfectly, you can grab the orb basically right as you show up here, but if not, you have to wait 9 seconds to get it on the second go around. That's okay. I actually missed an activation cycle too. I haven't done that before. So 3-3 has several early activations that you can get. There's Eevee Skip, which is the most optimal one. And then there's Zet Skip, which is a slightly safer one. I'm gonna go for Eevee Skip. I don't think that I'll get it based on that. Eevee Skip used to be a lot harder. That's one of the ones that was made way easier with the update. Oh my gosh, I got it. So as you can see, we jumped to the middle block where the orb was just coming downwards. Normally you have to wait for it to go over to the leftmost block and then grab it. And that's what Zet Skip involves, which is grabbing it from the leftmost block. So I'm really glad I got to show off Eevee Skip at least. And then Naomi's phasing in and out blocks. Okay. 3-4, the last level, is probably one of the coolest of the game because of this section right here. This is where the puzzle part of the rhythm puzzle platformer really comes into play. A lot of people struggle with what to do here in that section on their first playthrough. And then we have the final little gameplay bit, which is Dream Pressure. Named such because of the blocks that move up and down, and because it's right at the end of the run, after you've pulled off all the actually hard skips. You have a lot of nerves, and you can just fail that for no good reason. And it crushes your dreams. So now we have boss 3, which you may recognize the boss as a mechanic from Undertale. So phase 1 is fairly straightforward. You just shoot the triangle that's pointing towards you so that it aims away from you instead. It's a little more complicated after that. So now in phase 2, our little aim guy likes to spin around before we actually shoot. First 1 spin, so 90 degrees, and then 2, so 180 degrees. So you have to take that into consideration when you're aiming. Now phase 3, where everything gets a little hectic. However, phase 3 is actually easier than phase 2. You have both the triangles and your aim are spinning. But the way it works out, you can just follow a really simple pattern to make phase 3 easier. And then we're coming up on time, by the way. Time. So yeah, that's 140. It's a really stylistic game, very quirky, very fun. It's an excellent first speed game if you're looking to get into speedrunning, just because of the way the game works. It's a very low skill floor, but a very high skill ceiling because of the beat rules. One last thing I should mention is that we use in-game time on the leaderboards via a community-made mod. However, I don't currently have it installed, so I can't show that off. It would generally be something like 20 to 25 seconds less than your real-time time. So if the runtime was 1835, then this would be roughly an 1810. The way the beat rules work out, the top 4 or 5 times are all within a second or 2 of each other. So it is a very contentious game at high level. But yeah, that's 140. Glad I got to show it off.